Previously on They Don't Pay Us to Talk.
T2 and Player 2, we're totally getting married. Screw the podcast.
Hell, you fool! She's just a dollar store knockoff of me!
Ow, my face.
As a highly experimental counterintelligence asset assigned to the Welp Nope Tour for classified reasons, I will now engage in corporate espionage and rig this podcast to explode in 24 hours.
I am freaky AF, you guys, but professional AF as well. They're not going to choose Hal over me. Also, if you have Clovis hitches and know what to do with them, call me.
I just want to go home to my cats or whatever.
Haha, I have beaten a red dragon and scored at least 25,000 GP. I am so buying a Maserati and doing burnouts at every single stoplight from here to Hoboken. I could help Marcia escape her ordeal, but I only care about myself.
Okay, hold on. I've been around this podcast enough to know that little, if any, of those quick flashbacks were at all accurate. For starters, Marcia has 2 dogs, Sparky and Nico.
Yeah, well, I have loads of video to edit after our trip to Myrtle Beach, and I really don't have time to fact-check this stuff. Just say whatever, will ya? We can fix it in post.
I find that highly unlikely.
Just do it, will ya? I got arbitrary self-imposed deadlines to meet.
Very well. Fortunately for the audience, I don't need to make stuff up. I will begin by welcoming everyone to They Don't Pay Us to Talk, a new podcast from the creators of Taters Gonna Tate on YouTube. This podcast is serialized, and as such, you are strongly encouraged to start from the beginning and make sure you let each episode run straight through to the end, because you might miss arcane details that become important later. I can also share that this podcast is sponsored by Kaylee's Catastrophes. We will hear more about them later in the episode. With that out of the way, let's roll the dice of fate. It came up Marcia. It's too early for the sponsor plug. Let's try that again. That's better. Let's go to the not at all real Screaming Bean Cafe and check up on Allison Chains.
Welcome to the completely fictional Screaming Bean, where safe words are optional and nobody seems to know what that even means. What can I serve you today?
Yes, I'd like another winter roast to go, if you don't mind.
And if I refuse? You'll punish me, right?
Well, if by punish you, you mean name you explicitly in my Google review of this establishment with an accompanying photo, then yes. As a side note, this actually happened to someone at a local business Ethan frequents occasionally and can't believe they didn't get that review taken down.
Whoa, that's harsh. Fine, 1 winter roast. Hey, you're that mythical announcer who keeps sneaking peeks at me. Don't worry, I'm not mad at that. I just wish you'd ask me for consent so I can definitively say yes. Anyway, any update on me getting my old job back at the podcast?
This isn't my place, but as a good faith gesture to atone for those peaks you mentioned, Ethan is hip-deep in video editing.
Oh, so not a snowball's chance in hell I'm coming back. That's awesome. You guys can't see it, but I am dejectedly tapping cinnamon onto some lukewarm coffee.
I think you're not fully understanding me. Also, please nuke that, sweetheart. My coffee will probably turn room temperature by the end of this episode if I am really darting from storyline to storyline today, but let's give it a good first effort.
But you said Ethan was hip-deep in video editing.
Therefore, there's no compelling reason why you can't just take your job back. What's Ethan going to do? Delete you from the script? He can barely dress himself these days.
Which means I can get undressed, is that right?
If by right you mean to check for comprehension, I suppose you may. Again, nobody is going to prevent it. Jamie will definitely voice her displeasure offline after she hears this episode.
Woohoo! Here, take this coffee on the house. Now tell me how to get back to that podcast studio and into the pillory.
Well, the pillory is gone for the foreseeable future, but I am sure something else might pique your interest in Jamie's vast collection of restraints meant for Holly, whom she hates.
Oh man, it was so comfy. Oh well, I'll make do somehow. Now let's make our way to the podcast studio pronto ASAP.
Can do, miss. I need only narrate in my inimitable fashion and say, Allison stripped off her monkey suit and everything else she was wearing underneath it, which is a throwback to episode 12 and reinforces the serialized nature of this podcast. She streaked to the podcast studio in a flash, and in no time at all, she was seated in Hal's former chair, completely in the buff and happier than she'd been in, 2 or 3 episodes. There's that refusal to fact-check on Ethan's part.
Much better. I mean, it's no pillory, but what's that imposing contraption next to David's desk?
Oh, that's meant exclusively for Holly. You don't want anything to do with that.
If it's good enough for that robot, it's got to be good enough for me too. I'm going inside of it.
I cannot interfere, but I strongly recommend you activate the auto feeder before entering that no-contact solitary confinement cell. Once the door closes, you're trapped until somebody frees you.
You mean this switch here? There, I just heard what sounded like dry dog food fall down a tube.
Weird. It was supposed to be cooked carrots. Anyway, in you go, sweetheart.
I'm not physically restrained, which is a turnoff, but this cell is intriguing enough that I will throw all caution and common sense out the window. Here goes nothing.
And that may or may not be the last we ever see or hear of Allison Chains. Let's consult the dice of fate for our next venue. The dice have decided that we catch up with where David is and what he is doing.
Your credentials are impressive, Mordred the Mauve, and you are in fact a level 3 mage?
Indeed I am, my boy. I understand you're quite a swordsman yourself. I heard a bard singing about you at the Elf Song Tavern. The song seemed to wash over all of the patrons.
Thank you, but we have no time to recount my daring exploits. Here is 20,000 GP. I bought a Maserati after cashing out some NFTs I've been hanging on to for a rainy day and took a week of PTO to make my way to the fabled forest to consult with you. My female barbarian companion, who is wearing a laughably small amount of clothing, yet still lugging around a giant sword that hangs from a leather belt around her hips and managing to lose her top every third panel in our fight scenes, is my muscle. Not that I am anticipating any pushback that requires rolling for initiative.
I got a full Brazilian for this. Get the wizard. Let's split.
I am a mage, not a wizard. It's a common misconception, but the main difference is...
Oh, hey, the Mythical Announcer is here. Excellent. Hey, can you do me a solid and narrate past this nerdy exposition? Maybe get to the next fight scene, panel 2?
And you'll let me pose next to your Maserati in a way that suggests it's actually mine for Instagram and 2 YouTube shorts?
I accept your terms.
Very well. David, not Axa and Mordred, made all haste back to the podcast studio. To their surprise, it was empty. And Marcia McLean, who had been trapped in the pillory with no clothes on for several episodes, was nowhere to be seen.
What the heck? Where is Marcia? What's that huge black box next to my spotless desk? Why is the note asking for 1 week of PTO tossed aside like nobody actually read it? And what about Naomi? Oh, and for continuity, you see, there was a much different episode planned for episode 10, but Ethan decided it was in poor taste and had Jamie help him pave over the worst of it, which is presumably where this imposing black box came from, that has a voice coming from inside that sounds faintly like Allison. Anyway, while not named explicitly in that now-deleted scene, not Axa, the frequently topless barbarian queen has been a godsend with raising the necessary GP to hire Mordred here.
As it happens, I prepared a scroll last night and will now detect new construction. Yep, that's not even a week old.
No shit, Sherlock. Don't be wasting spell slots that we're going to need to free Marcia.
I also detect something is alive inside of that box. Perhaps it is this damsel you wish to free.
You only have one spell slot left today. We can't waste this. Don't use another spell until you see the whites of Marcia's eyes.
If we had my robot companion, he could use his laser finger to open that box after saying, processing.
Okay, this is uncomfortably crossing into flat-out plagiarism from Loving Homage. Dial it back a bit and think D&D, not the year 2080 as envisioned by fantasy artist Enrique Romero. Also, we have a robot of our own, sort of. Her code name is Hall E. I assume she is off on some harebrained adventure with the Temptress. Nothing hard is ever easy, is it?
Maybe we could just smash our way into the box. I am hoisting my impossibly huge sword.
Hold on. This is a high-security enclosure that appears to have been built by people who don't have a massive interest in things like petty little details. How about I press this green release button? There, the door just opened.
David, wow, am I glad to see you. Can you at least bind my wrists and shove me back in there? That was a bit too vanilla for me, and a bit too passive, to be honest.
Where is Marcia?
She isn't right here? That's weird. I mean, Ethan and Jamie came in and started talking about making changes to the studio, but I'm not sure what they did with Marcia. Maybe they freed her somehow and she's back at home with her two dogs, Sparky and Nico.
If our damsel is not here, then I will have to use a scrying spell to find out where she is. I suppose I could have done that before we left the fabled forest.
But if you do that, you'll be out of spell slots. And if she does need to be rescued, she'll have to wait another 24 hours before you can release her.
Well, your 20,000 GP is flat rate, so what's another 24 hours?
It is? I mean, yes, it is. Okay, scry away, mage guy.
Great, now can we get me bound up and living my best life?
But Allie, if I do that to you, how are we going to maintain a relationship? I mean, I've been away in the fabled forest, but once Marcia is sorted out, I'll have much more time for us. I thought we had something good together that I need to discuss in my upcoming one-on-one meeting with Ethan and Jamie.
I hate to say this, David, but some time alone gave me the clarity I needed to know that I'm really into 24/7 and need someone or something that can take away all of my freedom. That solitary confinement cell really got me, you know? Sorry, this is like losing your job to AI or something.
Let her go. You can dungeon crawl with me guilt-free.
I see. Well, I'm disappointed to say the least, but maybe this is for the best. Here, I'll tie you up nice and tight in Hal's old chair.
Sniff. You do love me, David. I'll never forget this. Mostly because there's nothing else to do around here if all we're doing is jumping from storyline to storyline. Maybe an epic kiss to see me off?
Yes, I think that's appropriate for old time's sake. We'll always have episode 7.
Maybe it can be tonight. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna fight. And if we can't make it right, we should kiss and say goodbye.
Yes, get her out of your system, David.
I have found the damsel, and I am not seeing dogs anywhere. I am, however, seeing lots of cooked carrots. Please deposit 24 hours for the next 3 spells.
Okay. As emotional as that parting was, we have to keep things moving. And the Marcia stuff might have to wait until next week. The best I can do is roll the dice of fate. If Marcia's storyline wins the roll, we'll get to find out more. Sadly, at least for Marcia, let us now go to the mythical realm, to an apartment on the Tony Upper East Side.
Ooh, it's good to be home. Hat Rack, you have no idea how exhausting it was selling drink packages on a cruise ship on embarkation day. I'm positively flirted out.
Ironically, you don't wear hats, so you can't toss one on my head to signify that you are home for an indefinite stretch of time. I am, however, adorned with all the lanyards you swiped from housekeeping.
The next cruise won't have their rooms ready until after 3. That should make a dent at Cruise Critic after that sailing. Now then, Hat Rack, it is time to regroup. Hal is cavorting with that Shein knockoff of me. I need a new, clever plan to steal him away from her without playing any more board games. Certainly not any strip ones, you perverts. You've seen quite enough of my rockin' bod without a membership. In unrelated news, I am considering starting an Only Casts account. DM me if you're interested.
Yes, Temptress, we are both unaware of what is actually going on with Hal right now, so we must assume nothing drastic has happened since we last saw him in this story arc. In unrelated news, I am considering getting one of those credit cards that awards frequent flyer miles after all the traveling I have done in 3 weeks, which incidentally did not involve any air travel.
Let's focus on me and my personal predicament. I have one last chance to redeem myself before I am condemned to being your assistant for all eternity. I have suffered the antepenultimate punishment, which is a new word I just learned, and as we just discussed, the penultimate punishment. This is trending badly for me.
What was the pre-antepenultimate punishment? For you word nerds out there, you're welcome.
Having you interrupt me while I am concocting a clever plan. You bionic bimbo! While I may have been bested in strip battleship by Timu Temptress fair and square, she must have a weakness. Mine is charcuterie. The more thinly sliced meats, the better.
If I may beg your pardon, Temptress, because we are surely butting up against the arbitrary episode length target of 15 to 20 minutes, you were not bested fair and square. Your doppelganger cheated 9 ways to Sunday.
What? But you assured me everything was on the up and up.
Incorrect. I was instructed not to lie, so I didn't. You sank 4 of her boats but she called them all misses. She also charmed her blindfold with a scrying spell and knew exactly which coordinates to call.
So, if I call for a rematch with no blindfold, there is still a chance to win back Hal. And there goes any hope we had of getting a positive Bechdel test result. What can I say? I'm mad about that doofus.
Perhaps it will work, but in truth, she is a very skilled battleship player. She really wanted nothing left to chance that could spoil her evil plan.
What evil plan? You know what, Hatrack. Don't answer that. If evil is the game, then Temptress is the name, which is my name and my game. We're going back to the mythical dimension next episode, and I will emerge victorious. And yes, my adoring public, quite possibly in some state of undress as well.
But what about the sponsor read?
Let me handle that. Here, Allison, you wanted your old job back. Why not get back into the swing of things with the sponsor plug?
Ooh, there's a swing?
I wouldn't know. Focus on the sponsor.
Right. Well, is your day going too smoothly? Are you working at a dead-end job as a coffee intern for a coffee shop? And seriously, I mean, what's that about? Maybe it's time to shake things up with Kaylee's catastrophes. Just one of Kaylee's catastrophes can change your relationship status on FriendFace, or see your now ex-boyfriend running off with a she-barbarian with a huge sword and pretty big knockers. I'm not gonna lie. But you can still be friends, though, which is cool. Look for Kaylee's catastrophes wherever you least expect them. Now available in non-destructive forms. Thank you to Kaylee's Catastrophes for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you, miss. Seeing as you're freshly single, I was wondering...
No time for that, whatever you're on about. We're over time on this episode, which was written and produced by Ethan Johnson. No AI was used in the production of this episode. Please consider liking the podcast in whatever form you consumed it, and if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. On behalf of Too Many Characters, this is Allison saying so long, and I'm back, baby. Ooh, that made me perky.
Let's call that a win. Let's call that a win. Can we call that a win?
that a win. Yeah, let's call that a win.
How about this?
No!